What's going on, everyone? Today we are taking a look at the Tenways CGO600 Pro e-bike. Taking a look at the specs, this has a 350 watt motor with a torque sensor, a 36 volt 10 amp hour battery, 28 by 1.75 inch tires, hydraulic brakes, a Gates CDN belt drive system, and weighs only 41.9 pounds. Unboxing the bike, this bike was very well packed, so I'm happy to report there was no damage on the bike. Even the accessory box had everything separated in foam, which is not something I've seen with other e-bikes. Inside the accessory box, you have your tools, reflectors, the charger, the manual, and the pedals. Assembly was very easy, and I won't be going over any of that in this video, but if you would like to see the full process, Tenways has a full assembly video which I have linked in the description. Another thing I have not seen before is this bike includes a very nice portable pump that is about the size of a marker. This is going to be extremely handy if you ever get a flat tire while riding. Taking a look at the bike itself, this is definitely a very nice looking bike. I love how it looks similar to a road bike, but instead also has the adjustable handlebar stem as well as tires that aren't as thin either. The one I have here is in gray, which fits very well with the sleek modern design this bike has. Beside gray, they also have this bike in green, black, and blue. The battery does mount from the top, which I love seeing, as this is typically a lot easier to insert or remove compared to when it's mounted at the bottom. The battery also mounts flush into the frame and blends in very well, so unless you're really close, it's hard to even tell this is an e-bike. So I think one key selling point for this bike is this is by far the lightest e-bike I have reviewed so far. On average, most e-bikes weigh somewhere around 65 to 100 pounds. This is more than half of the average e-bike at only 37 pounds. This, in my opinion, is extremely awesome as it entirely removes the typical hassle that comes with owning and carrying an e-bike. In the past, I've even owned regular non-e-bikes that have weighed more than this bike. I thought I'd seen small screens on e-bikes, but this bike takes the cake for the smallest screen I have seen so far. In my opinion, this works very well for this bike since it further helps this bike be so low profile that you can barely tell it was an e-bike. The font is on the smaller side, but overall it is still very bright and easy to read. Coming to the front, you have a headlight which is integrated into the frame and overall looks very nice and sleek. This is a single speed e-bike with no shifter, so wire management is very clean with only one wire coming out the front. There are two other wires as well, but those are nicely hidden and ran through the frame. Coming to the back, you do have a tail light, but unfortunately it is not integrated into the bike and requires a battery. As I said earlier, this bike does have a carbon Gates belt drive system. Pedaling on this feels a whole lot better than a regular chain. And another great benefit to these is they are nearly maintenance free. All you have to do is wipe it down every now and then, and that's all there is to it. As stated earlier, this bike does also have Bluetooth app connectivity. And coming up on the main screen here, it'll show you your miles per hour in real time, how much battery you have left, along with your estimated range remaining. Then if you swipe this down, you could also track your riding data. Coming down here, you can use the GPS and you can navigate while you ride and have that all on one screen. Coming over here, you have the history of all your rides. So every time you ride, it'll go ahead and record that and you can see all of your data here at once. There isn't many settings you can do on this app. It's mostly just for seeing your riding data and tracking your ride stats. So as suspected, this is definitely a very easy bike to pedal. But that's pretty much the case with most commuter style e-bikes or road bikes, because you have the skinnier tires that really decreases rolling resistance, so you can get a pretty much like a regular bike experience. I would say it's about 20% harder compared to a regular bike, but overall it's definitely very easy. This is a single speed bike, so you kind of get what you get. But it's also a belt drive, which makes it very easy and very efficient to pedal. And it's extremely quiet. So right now I'm pedaling and there's absolutely no noise coming from the chainring or the belt. One thing I really like about this bike is it's a little bit leaning toward the road style bike, but it's also a good combination of a commuter as well. A lot of these road style bikes have very, very skinny tires and a very forward aggressive riding position,
But on this bike, the tires aren't that skinny. There's still a decent amount of meat on them. And then what I really like is this bike comes with this adjustable stem. So instead of being stuck in that really forward position, you can lift that up for a more comfortable riding position. I don't like that whole lean forward, tuck down riding. So for me, I personally like it like this. And there's also a good amount of slack on the cable, so you can lift that up. No problem at all as well. The seat isn't too bad, but it is a road style seat. So I don't completely love it, but I don't hate it either. But fortunately, the seat is very easy to replace. You can get a good seat for maybe 20 to 40 bucks and you'll be good to go. So most likely I will be switching out the seat on this bike. But if you like these road style bikes with these kind of seats, it's definitely not a bad one. I've definitely sat on some that were a lot harder. This one got a little bit of cushion to it, but I just don't like how narrow it is. All right, so I went ahead and switched on the motor, and this bike does have a torque sensor. So compared to a cadence sensor, once it detects a rotation in the pedals, it just gives you a fixed amount of power depending what pedal assist level you're on. But with a torque sensor, it gives you power based on how light or how aggressive you're pedaling. So a lot of people say torque sensors are better and that's the way to go, but personally I think that's not really the case, and it really comes down to how you like riding. So since this bike doesn't have a throttle, this is the closest you're gonna get to an actual bike, because there is no easy assistance to say. There is, obviously there is assistance, but you can't just switch it on, pedal assist 2 and pedal like nothing and go full speed ahead. If you want high speed, you got to put in the work. So right now I like pedaling. Pedal assist 1, I get 7 miles per hour. Same thing, pedal assist 3, I still get 7.5 miles per hour if I'm pedaling slowly. Obviously if I push it a little more, it's going to give me more power, but like I said, you do have to push it more to get that power. So it's definitely a good feature, and it's definitely a more premium part compared to cadence sensor, but it's a totally different riding style. So overall, it's kind of difficult to judge how much speed you're gonna get on each pedal assist, because it is dependent on what kind of effort you put in. So I'm not gonna test out the independent pedal assist levels, simply because depending how you pedal, it could be 5 miles per hour, it could be 17 miles per hour. Like I said, it all depends on the effort you're putting in. So let me go ahead and switch this up to pedal assist 3 so we can see how fast we can get this bike to go. All right, I'm really pushing it now, feeling it in my legs. Whew. All right, looks like I got 17, and that was me really pushing it. Granted, I wasn't standing up, so if I stood up and pushed it, I probably could have pushed it to 18 or 19. Overall, this is very, very similar to an actual non-e-bike. And no matter if you're going 6 miles per hour or the top at 17, there's absolutely no noise coming from the motor. So that's very cool to see if you're on a bike path or in the sidewalk, the street. No one's really gonna know you're on an e-bike, because it doesn't really look like an e-bike, and it doesn't make no noise at all either. All right, so let's go ahead and try out these brakes. Not bad. They're not gonna skid the back tire, but this isn't really a fast bike anyways, but they're nice and smooth. Stop you nice and gradually, it's a nice smooth stop. So definitely good brakes. They are hydraulic brakes as well, so I have no complaints there. This bike, you put out a workout, I'll tell you that. You probably can hear me right now, but I'm a little winded because you got to work on this bike. There's no throttle, there's no gears, there's no automatic speed that kicks in. So if you want the speed, you got to work for that speed. So like I said, it's not for everyone. Some people just like to relax and they want that e-bike to do most of the work for them. But if you're someone who really likes getting out riding your bike, it's definitely a great bike to look at. Based off other bikes that I have, I'm gonna say, especially since this bike can't go very fast and you're putting in the work as well, you're probably gonna get a good 50 to 60 miles on this bike, no matter if you're riding slower or faster, because if you're riding faster, you're offsetting some of that power with the power of your legs. So I think you're definitely gonna get a good amount of range on this bike. So I'm actually riding this bike right now while pedaling regular, and it looks like on pedal assist 3, you're gonna get about 8 miles per hour if you're putting in minimal effort. Yeah, so overall, I think Tenways did a great job at making an e-bike that is extremely low profile and works similar and looks a lot similar to a regular bike, especially with this little tiny screen, and the battery is integrated into the frame that blends in very well. Unless somebody's looking very closely at this bike, if you're sitting on it and riding it, it's very unlikely anyone's gonna know you're on an e-bike. So if you're looking for a low profile e-bike that got a good amount of range on it, this one here is definitely a great option to look at. All right, well, that about wraps up this video. As usual, if you have any questions at all, feel free to drop me a comment and let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.